Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar. Now before we start this video off, the title of this will probably be something like Xbox has committed a huge mistake, which they have. Now I want to just address a couple things. There's going to be two types of people that watch this video. There's going to actually three types. There's going to be the number ones who've clicked on this video who don't care about video gaming at all. The recommended algorithm probably threw them down the rabbit hole. The second version of people are going to be individuals who play video games like me. Now you might have a version, a specific console you play on. Some of you play on PlayStation, some of you play on Xbox, some of y'all are Mac gamers, I can't believe I used a plural for that, some of you all game on PC, some of you all game on the N-Gage, okay? Alright, everyone has a platform. And for those people, who play on it and say, oh, critical, opinions of my gaming console, that's cool, friend. You know what? I understand. Everyone has a different take here and there. Awesome. I'm gonna keep playing video games. You're a cool guy. You're a cool guy or gal. I love you. You're a gamer. Now, if you're one of those people that clicked on this video and saw a negative title, and immediately in your head you're like, oh god, I hate Mutahar! I hate him so much! How dare he hate my console! If you're one of those people typing in a long form response in the comment section below, I'm not gonna read it, okay? I'm not gonna bother reading it. I'm not gonna give you the time of attention, alright? Because if you're that invested in plastic, then you need to go outside and experience the real fucking world is what you need to do, okay? See, I'm one of those people that I own every gaming console out there, purely because over time I pick them up, especially when they go on sales. I like to play video games, okay? I like video games. It doesn't matter what console or system I play on. I play video games. I don't fight for plastic boxes, alright? Now, I've made several videos on everything. I've made videos shitting on Nintendo for similar things. I've made a video very recently shitting on PlayStation for their CMOS issue, which is still an issue, by the way, Sony. Go fuck yourself for not fixing it yet. But now I gotta shit on Xbox even harder. Now, Xbox has some glaring problems. The biggest one I'll cover right now is you need an internet connection to even use the box, okay? To understand how bad Xbox's systems are, Xbox's digital rights management, which is a system used in place to basically, control who can play or not play a video game, right? A lot of people say it's to prevent piracy, but I fucking defend piracy because, believe it or not, piracy is the only way we can actually preserve our video games. When I'm talking about digital rights management, it's literally multiple ways to prevent users from accessing the media or content, unless, of course, the actual license holder, in this case Microsoft, has deemed you worthy of playing the game, or you own the game. Now, Xbox's DRM is system-wide. Back in the days of 2013, when their system was coming out, everyone crapped on Microsoft, rightfully so, for implementing a 24-hour check-in. So every 24 hours, your system would have to call back to Microsoft servers and say, hey buddy, I'm here. If it didn't do that, you couldn't run your games, okay? It was a terrible system, should never have even been conceived, let alone implemented. But when the backlash happened, Microsoft very quickly caved in and took it all away. Now that being said, Xbox One as a platform has this so entrenched that when you buy a system from them, whether it's the original Xbox One all the way up to the Xbox Series X, you need a day one connection to their servers to even create an account, migrate an account, and use the box. If you do not have that day one internet connection, the box effectively is a fucking brick. You have bought a useless box day one. Now, for 99% of people, and this is personal opinions from me, this isn't going to be an issue, okay? When I bought an Xbox, I knew this. I very quickly plugged it up to the internet, and I set up my account within minutes, and I was ready to go. It's not the worst thing, at least from getting on, okay? Xbox One X, all right? Most people on Xbox Ones know this, and they have already set up their consoles and provisioned it. When you have done that once, you can then set it as your home Xbox. You can disconnect the Xbox entirely. Now, what's gotten a little weirder is Xbox's game preservationism. Now, if there's a reason why I own over 9,000 discs for PlayStation and like 20 for Xbox One, there's a really big fucking reason for that. That's because Xbox Series X has some severe issues installing games. It does not preserve old media very well. To understand, I'm going to highlight a key issue. Now, on Xbox One or PlayStation, there's been a rumor floating around that when you buy discs, for instance, any kind of disc, the disc is just a license. That's true, but the disc also contains usually the 1.0 version of a game, meaning that if you didn't have an internet connection, you can choose to if you wanted, waste hours out of your life playing a piece of shit like Left Alive, and you do not need an internet connection. Anytime an internet connection is needed, in the case of, say, Call of Duty Modern Warfare or The Division 2, because those games are primarily online, it will usually denote somewhere on this box that internet is required. In this case, it doesn't. Most games, at least 99% of what I've experienced, have a functional game on the disc, all right? Yes, patches are needed sometimes to give more gameplay features or better, smooth out the frame rates or, make the game more stable in general, but you do not need patches. The game is complete on a disc 1.0, okay? If you wanted to play, say, Divinity Original Sin 2 on the PlayStation, this is the full version of the game with no patches. You can play it start to finish. Trust me, I have. Now, going on further, Xbox has an issue. Now, in this case, I've decided to take copies of Assassin's Creed Origins as an example. Now, I own Assassin's Creed Origin on Xbox One and PlayStation. These are the 1.0 versions of each game. Now, on Xbox One, typically you can stick the disc in and it will install from disk and run. Now, you could get a patch if you were connected to Xbox Live, but if you weren't, it would be fine. At least from my experience on the Xbox One X, I was able to play this game off of a disc with no connection, from what I recall. Now on Series X, here's the fucking kicker. When you put the disc in, and I'm going to time-lapse the footage here, it will install from disk 0% all the way to 100%. Now, during this case, I turned my Xbox One entirely offline, I made it my home Xbox, and I restarted the console, power cycled it, so there would be no issues, alright? The system was completely offline. Now, I was able to run my digital games just fine. Games like Splinter Cell Double Agent for the original Xbox that I downloaded through the store. I was able to play Watch Dogs 2 with all of the FPS boosting galore right there, which is a seriously cool feature that Xbox offers that PlayStation doesn't, which I want to see more of. But back on topic, once I took a disc copy of my base Xbox One Assassin's Creed, it installed all the way to 100%. And then I couldn't fucking run it because the system needed to be connected online in order to run. So, again, remember this. A game that I bought for $60 fucking on a system that I own 100%, at least in theory, is not able to run the disc-based version of that game without an internet connection. Now, of course, there's going to be people in the comments who are like, but this has always been the case. Not really, no. Because if you look at MVG, Modern Vintage Gamer, who has more physical games than I do, has done the same test, seeing that he has had an issue with Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, a base Xbox One game. So at least in theory, base Xbox One without an internet connection is not fucking supported on a Series X or S. Now, there are smart delivery games, which is Microsoft's way of installing the appropriate version of game to your system. It's a cool piece of tech where on the disc, in theory, when say you buy something like Yakuza 7, it will have the original Xbox One version of the game available, but the same disc will also have the Series X version. In practice, however, that's not the case. Most of these discs are just base Xbox One versions, and if you put them in a Series S or Series X, you will need to download the Series X version of the game through Xbox Live. So again, that Series X next-gen version of the game is never really preserved. The only exception here are actual exclusive Series X games. So MVG showed, what was it, Devil May Cry 5, which ran just fine, okay? That's not a big issue. So in 2-3 years, when only Series S and X games are being produced, this will not be as big of an issue as it is now. But for this time period, it's bad. For people who wanted to preserve Xbox One physically, this is bad. This is why the last game I purchased on Xbox One on a disc was Kingdom Hearts 3. Bad mistake. Now, to compare this with PlayStation, which is even worse for backwards compatibility, right? You know, you want to try running a PS3 game on PS5 or 4? Good luck, okay? Laugh my ass off. Xbox One preserves games really well. You can preserve games like Lost Odyssey, Red Dead Redemption. A lot of this is there. The caveat, though, is it's all connected to Xbox Live. So let's say you wanted to play Sonic the Hedgehog 06, right? I don't even know if this is backwards compatible. You can put the disc in to the Xbox One, however, it won't run off the disc. It'll download an emulated version from Xbox Live. Same for any supported original Xbox game. So the backwards compatibility is great for 99.9% of the cases. But in 15 years, when the servers go down for that specific system, it may not be as supported as you once expected. Now, you may be wondering, who plays a game after 15 years? Motherfucker, I'm playing Final Fantasy VII on the original PlayStation, okay? Back then, when you bought a system like a PlayStation 1 or a Super Nintendo, you could just get a cartridge, stick that shit in, no internet connection required. That kind of preservation may not exist for consoles going forward. Now, back on topic with PlayStation, I took Assassin's Creed Origins, I put that onto a disc, installed it directly on my PS5. So again, no internet connection, no nothing. Restarted. I even made a brand new account without the internet, which is something you can't do on Xbox One. PlayStation 4 and 5, you can buy it from a store, set it up without any internet connection. Sure, you'll miss out on patches. Sure, that sucks, but the games are playable from start to finish. No internet. Totally preserved. So, when I installed Assassin's Creed Origins from disk, it had the same file size as Xbox One. However, the key difference was on a PS5 and a 4, I was able to install the game, and once it was fully ready, I fired it up and I could actually play the game on a PlayStation 5 or 4 or whatever. You cannot do this as easily on an Xbox One. Now, personal opinions after all this is stated, this is bad for Xbox, okay? And more Xbox gamers need to raise awareness to Phil Spencer so that this can eventually be patched out. Because if you don't take a fucking stand now, the system is going to be e-waste in 15 years down the road. If Xbox started doing this, I would immediately start buying all of my physical discs for Xbox. Why would I buy Mass Effect, a Legendary Edition, for a weaker system like PlayStation 5 over the Series X? That's because the disc that I bought for PlayStation 5 is truly a preserved disc, versus Xbox One, where it's not even mandated to be the fucking final version on a disc. On an Xbox, you have to download a majority of the game's content on a disc anyways, okay? It's fucking stupid that Xbox has allowed this to go on this long. Now, again, personal opinions. For 99.9% of people, this is all just invisible, pointless shit anyways. But I'm a game preservationist, okay? This is why I champion shit like emulation. Because if these companies don't care about our games being preserved, we might as well take the fucking mantle into our own hands. And that's pretty much how things go. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, okay, this may not be a big issue to you. Some people may look at this as pointless whining. And at the end of the day, you can basically think of it like that, but I look at it as a way of preserving the media that we have come to know and love, all right? Movies are preserved relatively well with Blu-rays. Music is relatively preserved very well with vinyls. Why is it that video games are the only fucking industry where the games companies can literally go out of their way to invent shitty DRM that locks us out? I mean, case in point, I tried to play Persona 4 Golden underneath Linux, and when I was switching between Proton libraries, it was installing the game over again like as it was a new computer. Over there, I figured out all these de novo DRM games on PC have an install limit of like 4 installs every 24 hours. Most people aren't going to hit that. Linux users probably will, and I was locked out of the game I paid for 24 hours, whereas somebody could pirate that same game and keep playing it like no tomorrow. Video games are the only industry where companies can get away with this shit, and you'll still have dipshit losers defend them. There is no reason you should defend Xbox. Xbox does a lot of things right, like Game Pass. A million things are done right by Xbox, no doubt. But this is a key kick in the nuts by the company to the average user base. So hopefully Xbox can change this. Xbox can make it better. Again, I don't know if I can hold my breath, but hey, if Phil Spencer comes out and tells us that, guess what, buddy? I'm going to make the Xbox One completely offline friendly. No need to install discs and have the internet, present in the entire deal. If they do that, I'll share a picture of my asshole on OnlyFans. I don't even care. But that'll never happen, given how Xbox is trending to go. But hopefully, a man can dream. Anyways, I wanted to raise awareness on this issue because I really take this to heart. And if anything can be changed, then great. But I feel like the general public should know this going forward if they choose to buy physical Xbox One games or have any hope of preserving this for 15 years down the road when they want to end up showing their kids or grandkids about how cool gaming was back in the day with its microtransactions and battle passes and all that shit. That being said, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. This is me, Mutahar, and I'm going to go play Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne.